Hey guys, Mike the Caveman Kuhn here again for Paleo Primal Long Island and MikeTheCaveman.com. I'm going to try and get this done real quick just because it's not too nice out today and I really hate doing it indoors. So for today's question, comes from my good friend Tori, and a couple of people had the similar question, but it has to do with what's my take on nut butters and nut flours. Okay? Regarding nut butters and nut flours, you may have noticed that I do occasionally include recipes with them in my father's menu. And so you might think, oh, Mike's totally cool with them. And it's a little bit of a gray area, okay? When it comes to those nut butters, nut flours, be they, almond butter, cashew butter, almond flour, okay? We're not talking about peanut butter, because peanuts have a whole host of issues that are associated with them separately. But when it comes to the cashew butters, the almond butters, they're good, they're tasty, right? Unfortunately, they are what are called hyper-palatable. All right, what that means is they're kind of the perfect storm of fat, carbohydrate, particularly sugar if it's added, and salt. All three of those are things that make humans experience hunger and experience the need to eat more, the want to eat more. When you put all three of them together, well, that makes something super delicious, and because you get that insulin spike, you're able to eat more of it, okay? So you can very easily start with that 1 tablespoon serving of, say, cashew butter, and then you're half a jar in later, alright? It's super easy to overeat. That's my biggest problem. But from an intellectual standpoint, if we do a thought experiment, think about how long it would take you if you had to gather, shell, soak, rinse, and grind all of those nuts. How many nuts would you need to collect? How long would it actually take you to go through that entire process to properly prepare those nuts, okay? Seeds in general, be they nuts and seeds, they legumes, whether they're grains, that's the biggest problem. It's not that we can't eat them. Some of them aren't great for us, particularly the gluten-containing grains, wheat, barley, rye, but it's less so much that we can't eat them, it's the amounts that we're eating them in, okay? We don't have the necessary evolutionary pressure to eat them in the quantities that we currently do, okay? Sure, you might be able to get away with a little bit of grains here or there. You might be able to get away with a little bit of nuts here and there. Nuts are certainly exponentially healthier than grains are overall, but the degree, the magnitude, the amount of nuts you would need to eat in order to make that nut butter, it's not really that good. Same problem with like fruit juices and stuff, the amount of oranges you need to squeeze to make that orange juice. It's just not a natural process, okay? Our bodies aren't adequately adapted to them. It has to do with that hormetic stressor we talked about yesterday, right? If you introduce a little bit of stress, no problem, your body adapts and it gets stronger. We have our hormesis. If, however, you introduce too much too quickly, right? In the case of those nut butters, too much of that fat, too much of those sugar, too much at once, way too easy to overeat, okay? Regarding the fats that are in nut butters, depending on what we're talking about, if you're making a macadamia nut butter, it'd be really expensive, and odds are you're probably not doing that. It'd be pretty delicious, but the fats that are in it are generally high in omega-6. They have some omega-3s. So the macadamia nut, though, is high in a monounsaturated, so that'd be great, but you're probably not making that. So cashew butter, almond butter, delicious, not the best fat source overall if we're talking about what you're going to get in that butter. Same thing with flours, pretty good source of fiber, but it's still a flour, okay? You're not going to be eating that many nuts in a natural situation. We're not using it as an appeal to nature fallacy. What we're doing is we are talking about just logically, just think about it. If we don't have that pressure, it probably is not the best thing. Does that inherently mean that it's bad? No. It's just the oils that are in there aren't great in high quantities. So we don't have that necessary pressure. Hopefully I didn't go too much on the circle on that. Like I said the same thing like 400 times. But that being said, hopefully guys it's helped you out a little bit. Just make sure when you're going with nut butters, you use it in moderation, whatever that actually means. But if you like this video, make sure you know what to do. Like and subscribe down below. And head on over to Instagram and Twitter. You can follow me on @MikeTheCaveman. You can find me on Facebook at Paleo Primal Long Island. Of course, you can head on over to MikeTheCaveman.com. Alright, guys, have a great day. I guess stay inside. It's not that good. See you later, guys.